The r36s, probably one of the best handheld retro gaming consoles.
This is hands down the best find on TikTok. Meet the keyboard with over 20,000 games pre-installed. From Mario Kart to GTA 5, you'll never get bored. Plus, it fits perfectly in your pocket and lasts nearly 10 hours on a single charge. So, what do you think I should play first?
This is the r36s, a device that's been milked by dropshippers this past year. I got this for £20, which is a good deal on AliExpress compared to what some of these dropshippers are selling it for. Just looking at it, we've got a display that's definitely not OLED, a power button, a reset button, 2 SD card slots, volume, triggers, 2 USB-C ports, and what seems to be a headphone jack. Internally, what we've got here is 2 little RAM chips that make up 1 GB. The chip, which is an RK3326, not very good. So the hardware's okay for what you get for the price. On the front, you got these little joystick things and D-pads and the buttons. Here you've got a front-facing speaker. Whenever you push down, the triggers are pushed as well, which is very poor design. And that's basically it for the overview. Now we're looking at the USB-C ports. We've got one DC port for charging, which does not work with C2C. As you can see here, I've got a C2C one. Let's just plug it in here, plug it straight into a power bank, turn on the power bank, and nothing happens. However, whenever we plug in a C to A, it charges, and we can see that from the pink light indicator. This is due to the USB-C trigger chip being missing, so that's one downfall with this device. This second USB-C port is labelled OTG, USB on the go. That is for external means such as extra USB ports of docks, so we can just plug in a dock right here, and then now we have access to all these USB ports, Ethernet, and not video because this device does not support external displays. Now we can plug in a keyboard. And one small little fact about this device right here, you can actually access a small little Linux Ubuntu terminal. So when you plug in your keyboard, you hold space and press F4. It will go into this, and if it does yellow flickering, you can do Windows and then F2, and then you're in the login. The username and password is arc in all lowercase. And as you can see, we are now logged into Ubuntu. So we can type in htop to see our performance right here. Quite a bit of the memory is being used, and yeah. As you can see, our first test is testing out PSP game Vice City Stories. And right off the bat, one thing I need to tell you, the audio on this PSP game specifically, I mean all PSP games, is awful. Hear that crunchy audio? Just absolutely unlistenable, and sometimes it just slows down like this, and it gets fast again, then slows down. Blech. So I'm going to turn it down and use the PSP volume then. So the PSP obviously runs the game a lot better. As you can see, stable 50, I think, FPS, something like that. Yeah, but when you drive a little bit, it goes down, gets a little bit slower. Here, when you drive, it's similar performance until it starts slowing down, like you're playing on slow-mo. Mental screams. I think I accidentally pressed the FN button and the whole thing, but that's besides the point. We know this runs awfully. The screen on the PSP is a lot worse than the screen on the r36s. Yeah. So that's the conclusion. Don't play PSP games on this. On to the next test. As you can see, we are now testing a DS game on the r36s, and we also have the actual console to compare to. So just turn up the volume on the r36s. Audio does work great. Let's just compare the two in gameplay and use this button on the back to switch screen. So yeah, cool. Let's test the gameplay now. The DS got an actual physical volume slider. The game runs great, obviously, because this is the Nintendo intended hardware. It's gonna run great, but you know what I mean. Runs great, 60 FPS. Now on here, it is also running great, but the resolution is a little bit different on the r36s, so it does look lower quality when it isn't. It's just because the DS has a worse screen that's more optimized for the lower resolution. So yeah, they both run the exact same. So a point for the r36s here, considering the better screen, but point to the DS for the dual screen without having to switch screen. Runs great. On to the next test. And as you can see, the next console I'm testing is the SNES. Got the same game on the r36s and the SNES, and yet again, the SNES is a lot bigger than I would have expected. So you got a direct comparison there, and this is obviously a lot heavier than this. So yeah, got the controller plugged in, and let's compare the differences in performance. So right off the bat, I think on the SNES it's performing a bit worse. So as we can see, little r36s, it looks great and it runs great at 60 Hz. But because this SNES is PAL, we can see that it's just kind of stuck at 50 Hz and it runs pretty bad, as dips. This could just be the capture card, but I'm unable to tell. And oh, this is really old technology. Really good game, by the way. I recommend anyone play this game. So yeah, that's basically it. I'd say the old little pixelated graphics look better on a composite out, because the blurriness, you know, kind of smooths out the individual pixels that you'd see on this r36s here. But I definitely recommend the r36s more. Point to the r36s. Let's move on to the next test. As you can see, the next thing we are testing is an N64, and in it I have got the game we are testing, F1 World Grand Prix. So we've got the exact same game on this r36s as well, and I added it. It didn't come pre-installed. And one thing to note is this N64 is a lot bigger, obviously, since it released in, I believe, 1996. So technology's advanced quite a lot. So yeah, let's just get to it and do the comparison in the same game. So as you can see, we've loaded up the same game on both systems, the N64 and the r36s. Just right off the bat, the r36s looks a lot smoother and the screen looks a lot better, but that is to be expected considering the output we're using is quite old, the N64. So let's just hop into a game and see what happens. And as you can see, we're in the exact same game on both, and the N64 looks like it's running alright. And on this little r36s, runs great, looks like a solid 60 FPS. Game looks decent as well. So no complaints on the r36s apart from the volume. And on the N64, is obviously really old, the video output is really bad, and it looks like the game lags quite a bit more. However, the colours are better on the N64. And just a note, this joystick is horrible. It might just be that it's a third-party controller, but I don't think so. It feels horrible. I can't even drive properly. Look at this. So yeah, this feels a lot more like 30 FPS, even though they're both on the PAL version, which shouldn't affect the FPS. So yeah, just awful. And those on here looks quite a lot better. However, it's probably just due to the N64 composite output. And maybe the European region, but I highly doubt it since r36s is also in Europe. So yeah, r36s wins. On to the next test. So now that we are done with the first part of our testing, we're about to start the battery tests when this happened. This gave us a good excuse to open it up, which wasn't too hard, just 6 screws and no threaded inserts. Once it was open, fixing it was as simple as popping out the ribbon cable and stuffing it back in, which doesn't seem to want to go in all the way, which is poor design. This occurred just from normal use, which is very, very crappy design. Since we were already in there, we decided to test the temperature and see how hot the CPU got after 20 minutes of WebGL fish. It hit about 65 degrees, which isn't great, but it could be worse. Unfortunately, I didn't have any heat sinks that would fit inside. While we were at it, we decided to test the 3000 mAh battery, quote unquote. After running it through my tester, it got a capacity of 2300 mAh, which isn't too bad, but not quite 3000. I guess they're using grade B batteries, which didn't quite meet the capacity, so they put in this junk. For the battery life test, I set up and went to bed. In the morning, I was shocked to find it had been running for 7 hours and 20 minutes. For the charging test, after about 1 hour, the current started to drop over the next 3 hours. It finally finished charging after 4 hours. Not great when it could be done in 1 hour, no problem. As you can see, our next test is something you don't know about. Next test is Linux. I have actually installed a working install of the Linux desktop environment on here you're about to see. So I plugged in a keyboard and mouse just to show you. I took out the SD card and installed it on the internal storage. And to get to it, we need to go all the way down to Options. Click on Tools. Click on XFCE. And then click on Launch XFCE. And we wait for it to boot up. As you can see, we are now loaded into the desktop. We can control our mouse cursor with the right stick really fast and the left stick slowly. As you can see, this button is for left click and this is for right click. So let's just go on a web browser since I have Ethernet plugged in and test out a YouTube video. As you can see, we've loaded into Firefox now. Just gotta wait for everything to load in. Click on YouTube here. As you can see, we've loaded in the web page, so we can now click on my channel. As you can see, we've now loaded onto our channel. Let's just find the 4K test video and run it to see how this performs. As you can see, the video is loaded, and on 480p it runs pretty well without really much stutter or anything. So for YouTube, if you wanted to watch it on this tiny display for whatever reason, I guess it would work. So let's just go up to 720p 60 and see how it performs. As you can see on 720p 60, it is lagging out a little bit, as you can tell from the OSU in the top left. And it's just kind of a still picture at the moment. It isn't really running well. I don't think it can run 720p, it's just kind of stopped. So yeah, 720p is unwatchable pretty much, just lags every second. And for the final test, 1080p. As you can see, 1080p 60 doesn't even work. So let's move on to something else. As you can see, guys, I think this is all as it loads, and it's just blue and white stripes. So it says we're getting 9 FPS on the one blue and white stripe Let's change it to about 100. Here we're still getting 9 FPS. Change it to 25,000. Still 7 FPS on the blue and white stripes. This is making no difference, and I think that's the end of this Linux run. And that was my overview of the R36s. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.